Do with this for the future.
Uh, what I'd like to do here, very quickly, is share my own experience with multimedia. I have a varied background. In my 20s, I worked in advertising. I wrote and produced television commercials. So the image was quite important, the combination of image and word. And then from there on, I worked as a psychotherapist for about 15 years. And the therapy that I practiced required an insidious study of neurology, the brain, how it worked, how it processed information. And from there, I decided to go back to university, study sociology, and see how society works. And I was stunned because in 4 years, we did not watch a single video in class. The video library, as ours here, was full of videos, but these professors, in true 19th century form, worshipped the book, worshipped the text. What Marx did on his third trip to Germany was more important. I don't know if he went to Germany, I don't care. I teach theory, but the details, forget it. Was more important than having a scene of what the man was talking about, how capitalism creates poverty and despair. Had they shown us the slums of Rio de Janeiro, had they showed us the people living out of boxes in the richest country of the world, we might have understood the material better. So when I came to teach myself, I decided that I would try to speak at the level of the students, if at all possible, without dumbing down the information. So at UPI I had a site, which I have here. It's a website that has very bad behavior. And each link here takes the student to sites that have readings, video clips, whatnot, for each of their courses, right? And this site gets visited, I don't know, we get about 7,000 visitors a month around the world because on the internet it's known. So I started with this, and then I ran into a problem because I noticed three things. We're faced with a generation of students that are not the same as they were 30 years ago. And anybody who thinks they are has dug their heels in the ground and does not want to see what is different. I remember when I was in school at 18, I dropped out a year later because nothing made sense. We were not interested. We did less work than the students are today. But there were two differences. We knew that if we got the BA, we had a job waiting as a trainee. All these jobs in newspapers that say copywriter trainee, BA required, administrative trainee, BA required. Plus, only 10% of the population was in university. There were industrial jobs, manufacturing jobs. Today, those jobs are gone, and we have a massification. I think somebody used that phrase previously. A massification of education. So if we continue saying, well, we're teaching only to the elites, to the literates who've grown up with families, with books and all that, I think we're going to make a very big mistake, because this generation is very pragmatic. They are in school, studying, biding their time, because there's nothing else to do, a lot of them. And they come from a different background. Their education as they grew up was not based on competence, information, and discipline. The old punishment reward systems was based on feeling good about yourself, self-esteem. There's a great book out by Jean Twenge called Generation Me, where she does a meta-analysis of this particular new generation, which is very different from Generation X. So they have this coming into university. They're coming into an economy that's almost non-existent, service economy. What is service economy? I mean, if we tried making this tomorrow, we probably wouldn't know how to do it. I'm not promoting Tim Hortons. We wouldn't know how to do it because all these jobs have gone overseas. But most importantly, I think they're arriving in university, and I'm sure this has been mentioned before, I don't mean to repeat, with a new neuro system. When we grew up, my generation, we'd watch movies and it was a story. The camera was in a dolly and would follow the actors. There was dialogue, right? Now, I have 2 cameras. I do film stuff. And I had to bring in, against my own will, steady cams. I've got a shoulder problem, and I have 18 pounds to lift, this fresh camera, to be able to do these sexy shots and piece them together so that the new generation can relate to them. Everything is fragmentary. The videos they've watched, the video games they've played, everything is based on building shots, building images, rather than seeing reality as it is. Then they come in the classroom. I'm going to take you to a video. It's 4 minutes long. Okay, now this is the channel I have on YouTube. It's called Sociological. So what I have is, I have talks and little instructional videos that I put on, and a list of favorites here. And then, and you can do this. You just go on YouTube if you want to use YouTube, and type in how to use YouTube. You got tons of videos on YouTube, of course, tons of articles. It's very easy to set up with graphics and everything. And then there are playlists. So I have a playlist for each course that is appropriate to use YouTube on. Because we no longer have video buying budgets. To buy video $500–600 for one course, it's not going to happen. But it's on here for free. But it's a lot of work searching and knowing what you're looking for, and then you link to it, and it's suddenly in your site. So I did this. Let's go to playlist. Where's the vlog? There's a video here. Here we go. Some of you may have seen this. You'll be one of 4.5 million people who have. Just watch this video before we go. This was produced in Kansas State University by anthropology students.
Yeah.
4 minutes. Some fellow, I can't remember his name, although I've corresponded with him, has written a book called The Dumbest Generation Ever. Went bestseller. And why technology has not helped students, and why they're the most depressed generation ever. I don't agree with that kind of assessment. I think, and a lot of professors are reacting like that. They are seeing this, and they are entrenching more. They are withdrawing into this elite space of books. I have colleagues who tell me with pride, I never watch television. Do a survey in any university, professors, and ask them, how much television do you watch? Well, these colleagues that don't watch television missed 2 great programs the last 2 nights. At 3 in the morning, I work all night. One was called Afghan Idol. How Afghanistan has reproduced American Idol and the cultural issues, like the girls can't dance and stuff, and they have to learn in secret. A fantastic cultural study. You would think anthropologists would want to study this documentary and share it with their students. But what you get in most courses is a lot of theory, whatever. The other one was about this woman who was drunk and killed all her children. I don't know if you heard, 2 years ago, she just drove drunk, and they made a 3-hour documentary with the family trying to understand what had happened. An amazing expose of crime, victimhood. You would think that would be an amazing program to share with your students in a victimology course, for example, which we offer here. And the person who teaches it does use a lot of video. In our department, a lot of us are video oriented. But what I'm suggesting is that the minds of these students, like we say, they can, you notice I'm not finishing my sentences. That's how I lecture. And you know what? It works. The first year, I used to speak in complete sentences, like a book. And I realized that they're not following, because by the time I get to the end of the sentence, they've forgotten the beginning. Because their minds are too fast. It's not that they have attention deficit disorder. Oh no. Their minds are at a higher level, I believe, neurologically. And the book lecture is at a lower level. It's linear. Theirs is implosive. impressionistic. If you study the mind, you'll see that 19th century was very cortical. And then the 20th century, with us guys, the hippies and everything, we brought out the limbic system and started really emoting and protesting and all that. And this generation has tapped into the reticular system, which is extremely sensational, spontaneous, and it doesn't follow rules. The speech patterns. I mean, look at some of these stars talking. It's not that they're illiterate. Their minds are going so fast. You ever heard a lecture by Camille Paglia? I know she may not be your favorite academic. How many of you know her? When this woman works, she has 2 TV sets on, 3 radio stations. It's got to be total noise chaos for her to function. And she starts sentences, she talks like I can't even talk fast. She does. She talks like a machine gun, and then she starts sentences, and it's this. And the other night, again on television, she was saying academics withdraw into the word and they shouldn't. And somebody else from the McLuhan Center was saying that in the beginning was not the word but the image. Before you know what an object is, you see it, right? So I favor this little effort here that I made. I'll give you an example just to finish up. How am I doing with time?
Half time, go ahead.
How much time do I have?
You have 10 more minutes plus.
Oh, then I can tell you about my childhood.